Hello everyone, in this video we're going to go over the min-cut theorem, so it's also called the max flow min-cut theorem. And it's a pretty simple theorem. It says the maximum flow of a graph is equal to the total weight of the edges in the minimum cut. So let's break that down. When we're talking about maximum flow, that's the most you can get from the source to the sink. So with all your augmenting paths, the most you can get from source to sink. And the min cut is the smallest total weight of all the edges from source to sink, which if removed would disconnect source and sink. So let's break that down a little bit more. So if we have, max flow for this network we saw in the first video is 9. Where is the min cut? So if this is a cut on this graph, it's going to separate, if I removed these two edges, it would separate the source from the sink, and the weight of this cut would be 14 because we're going to add together the 1 here and the 13 here. Now, as we said before, the maximum flow here is 9, and by the max flow min cut theorem, the max flow and the min cut have to be the same. So we know that this is a cut on the graph that separates the source and the sink, but it's not going to be the minimum cut because it's not equal to 9. So this is another cut. It's 5 plus 6, which is less than the 14 we had before, but still not the minimum cut. This cut still does separate the source and the sink, though, because if we removed these two edges, the sink would be all alone and it would be separate from the source. This is another cut we could have on the graph. It does not separate the source and the sink because you could still have these two edges going from source to sink, and you could make that path. So that would not work either. This is going to work though. This would still separate source and sink. So there would be no path from the source to the sink. And it's the minimum that we can get on the graphs, because if we add up this 8 and this 1, that is 9. So this is one of the minimum cuts on this graph. All right. So go to the worksheet that's up next and see if you can find the minimum cuts on the two graphs that we looked at in that worksheet.